Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Yes, this is take 2. We are on our 4th LinkedIn Live Elyséen open session. And today we are going to talk about something truly significant in the way life is in general, in the way we operate within our system, and I suppose the entire universe at that. And that is about patterns, but more specifically about pattern and performance, and how this plays such a crucial role in breakthrough, in passing through ceilings, and having different outcomes. My name is Sarah Soul. I am the founder of Elyséen Experience. I work with high output professionals, leaders, high performers in optimizing their human system so they can lead, perform, live, and love from their highest frequency. So, before we even dive into performance or breakthrough, more specifically, we'll be talking about how to actually become the pattern interrupt. We must first identify what is a pattern. So, I want to take this down to like ancient times, since the birth of the world, the birth of the earth. Let's bring it down to nature. In nature, patterns are the reason that life works at all. Patterns have been since time how order, how beauty, and safety are created in the natural world. So take a look at shells, for example, and their spiral formation. The way that the seasons change and always seem to execute in the perfect pattern. The way that birds migrate, for example, the circadian rhythms, the heartbeat, and how that organizes life. Patterns are everywhere in the natural world. And nature runs on pattern because pattern reduces chaos and conserves energy. And the human being is no exception. Take the idea of when you are young and you're learning how to brush your teeth. You learn and you integrate, and that becomes a pattern. It's something automated to solve a problem. Okay. And while that works, right, we realize that if it were not a pattern and it didn't become an automated integrated act or something that is inhabited within us, then imagine waking up every single day, figuring out how to do it, how to do it well, how to do the job. It'd take a lot of energy and it'd be quite chaotic. So that is obviously a micro example, but nature runs on this pattern. And so do we. Our thoughts, our emotion, our posture, even the way in which we breathe. And sorry, I was just making sure that the audio is actually working this time because that was not very fun. But Yes, decision making, our stress responses, these are not random things that we came across. They are patterned, they are integratively patterned. So, here's the key distinction that we're going to work with today, and that is a pattern is an adaptive solution to a specific environment, pressure, or demand. They form at one point because they worked, okay? And here's the paradox is that if you have a problem or you need a solution to something most of the time, or you want to go about a certain way, you develop, integrate, witness, and behave in a specific pattern to get you somewhere because it solves a problem. But here's the thing. Here's the paradox is that that pattern will only work for you until it doesn't. What got you here won't get you there, if you know what I mean. And I see this time and time again with the clients that I work with. As you know, you have to break through at some point because at some point, whether through conscious choice or through something that is not in your immediate level of control, but is being called of you, it's being asked of you to expand your business, it's being called of you to level up, it's being called of you to take some rest, it's being called of you to operate differently, but not to operate differently. Intuitively have your system integrate different patterns. So most people now, when we think about the word pattern, like what comes to mind? Is it like, from what I know, most people, when they think about the pattern, they think about like their habits and their routines, their behaviors. And that is true. It is definitely relevant. It's a relevant definition and encapsulates well where patterns are, where they are located, and where they reside, and where they show up. But now we're going to talk about it at the human system level. Okay, and we've already established this now that on a human system level, a coordinated response across the nervous system, the body, the mind, and energy that reliably produce a specific outcome under specific conditions. Patterns live deeper than habit. They live in your muscle tone. They live in your breathing rhythm. They live in your pulse. They live in your threat perception, in your communication, in your emotional timing. And this is a very important one too, your identity. Has a lot to do with the identity you associate with. This is why people can know something is off intellectually and still not be able to live it, still not be able to inhabit it. It's systemic. It lives and operates from the entire system. I want to take the example of, like, let's say somebody who goes to the gym and they have this awareness that they need to start working out, or maybe they've been working out for a long time and they go and they're on a specific diet also, and that works beautifully for them. It works. It's got them the results that they want. But at some point, life asks something different of you because we evolve. We are naturally evolving. Even if it looks like regression, I always say that even if it looks like regression, it's still progression, because we are constantly in the process of evolution. Sorry, unconsciously in the process of evolution. But we can do certain things to consciously support our evolution. And patterning is definitely one of them. So my example with the gym was that that person has that diet, has that routine, but maybe at some point they need something more. Their body is asking for something more, or they want to achieve consciously a different result. That CEO wants to create breakthrough more than what they're doing now. They've built the business through grit. They've built the business through hyper focus, through being the fastest thinker in the room, from being the person who creates solutions, wildly effective solutions to problems that most people can't. They have had sleepless nights. They have that determination and the drive, and they're constantly in overdrive. And that worked excellent to create the company, to achieve the success that they currently have. But now, at this level of their company and their business and what they want to do, the vision that expands from this point on, what happens above that ceiling? What happens above that is going to require your patterning to also evolve with you, and your patterning to evolve with the company. Okie dokie. And I do want to talk about a little bit about biomimicry. I once took an architecture class, and they taught about biomimicry, which I think was really amazing, and it is something that always stuck with me. So in nature, patterns, they don't disappear when the conditions change, when the environment changes. They evolve, as we had mentioned. It is through the process of evolution. A tree doesn't stop being a tree when the climate changes. It simply changes its root depth, the water retention, the leaf structure. The pattern adapts to the environment. It is adaptive, depending. But we cannot operate in the same pattern, right? So when the tree is being asked to go into this deep state of rest versus constant output and producing, so that it can recharge, so that it can change its patterning from the environment. And humans are no different. The issue isn't that the pattern, like, it's bad or anything. It's the issue is that your environment, your responsibility or identity has changed faster than the pattern has evolved. So let's take the example of like what patterns are. Obviously, we know now that they are a solution, an integrated solution that our system has naturally embodied to solve something. So let's just say, for example, somebody who does excessive smoking or drinking. They may have started that to solve the problem of emotions or heartbreak or stress. Maybe it's a social thing to like fit in or something. And maybe they took that on a little too hard. But at some point through their evolution, their body and their circumstances are going to ask them to integrate different patterns. Sometimes the pattern requires a complete switch, but sometimes the good patterns or patterns that actually serve us really well, like consistency and determination, perhaps. Maybe it just needs to evolve to operate on a different wavelength. Does that make sense? So I do want to use another example here. So let's take in this from a performance lens, of like a physical performance lens. Let's say a football player. And this football player, they are early in their career, let's just imagine. And their pattern is explosive output. They push through pain. They have high sympathetic activation. And their identity is anchored in grit and overdrive. And this worked magnificently for this football player because with this patterning that he's integrated, this allowed him to get drafted. This allowed him to win games. This allowed him to build reputation. Now, fast forward. Now they sign a major contract and they carry now immense responsibility. Their body has absorbed years of impact of operating in the same patterning that got him there. But now he is required to integrate a different level of patterning. Maybe something that is not so intense. It allows a different frequency. And these new patterns are something that is going to help him execute this level of responsibility, impact, leadership on his body, on his physical body, on a team scale. But he's not operating in the new patterns that his body is requiring of him to execute this new responsibility. Do you understand? So what happens? Operating in the same pattern, he reaches a plateau. And that plateau, maybe let's say, resulted in an injury, a pulled hamstring or something like that. Or what other common ones are there? Fracture. We're just going to go with the pulled hamstring. And so, or the same shoulder, the same knee, whatever it is, okay? So the pattern hasn't evolved, but his environment has. His life has evolved, but the integrated patterning has not evolved. So he takes the time to rehabilitate, and I really feel that this is where most systems kind of fail to intervene, is on the nervous system level, on the level of the patterning and nervous system, because that athlete now, he's going through rehabilitation and strengthening and conditioning and even emotional, maybe mindset type of therapy to help him achieve that level of confidence of to be who he was before injury. But that cannot happen without addressing what patterns got him there. What patterning he needs to now move past, maybe say goodbye to even, or just evolve. And that is on a nervous system level. So let's say he recovers and he gets back in the game. What happens now? Few games later, same knee, same hamstring, same shoulder, pulled again. Why is that? It's because he's operating from the same patterning. Do you understand how this works? It's really amazing because sometimes people might think that's unrelated. Sometimes the injury is inevitable, but it's not. Your patterning is the inevitable factor. Once you integrate differently on a nervous system level, on a systems level, and understand that, then that's how change is made. Then we don't manifest, we don't move the same way, we don't manifest the same types of outcomes. If you're currently operating from the same pattern, hoping for different results, hoping for the breakthrough, it's all possible, but it's not going to work in its highest efficiency. And that's what optimization is all about. To optimize the human system is to really look at it from all angles. Integratively, it is one integrative intelligence. And I say this time and time again. So now there's longer recovery times, inconsistency, lack of confidence, shattering of identity, because the same results keep happening. Anyway, but because the pattern that built the athlete is now overfiring in an environment that requires coherence, alignment, orchestration, the upgrade, the breakthrough, okay? Anyway, that's the gap here. That's the gap in this example. And I hope that that can also be applied to other examples as well. So I want to talk about something and the way that I work with my clients and kind of what we do when we talk about patterning is becoming the glitch. Like a glitch just happened earlier when I had tried to record this video the first time, no audio, the complete 45 minutes. Wild. But when people hear about becoming the glitch, what I mean is becoming the pattern interrupt. Like it is a conscious, intentional, and precise action that you take to become the glitch. Now, when we talk about a glitch, think about your phone, for example. An app stops working, closes down, got no choice, or your computer, something happens. You have no choice but to restart it, to reboot it. Sometimes it does it on its own. Sometimes you have to force the reboot, the restart. And in that time frame of the glitch, you're like, oh my God, anything can happen at this point. All my stuff could be wiped out. It could erase everything. My computer or my phone could potentially just completely die on me. Or it could be going through some serious, magnificent upgrade, or whatever. But the point is that in the moment of a glitch, all possibilities exist. Think about that movie, Spider-Man. That's it. Into the Multiverse, I think it's called. In this one movie, Spider-Man, one of them at least, he's in the multiverse. He's about to transition and he's glitching. Like he's physically glitching because where he's going environmentally and consciously now, his body is not able to keep up with it. So he's glitching his way and he's there. But the point that I want to make is that in the glitch and in that movie, for example, all possibilities exist, all versions exist. It's all possible when you become the glitch. Does that make sense? So a glitch is an automatic moment, a moment where the automatic system pauses long enough to allow reorganization. It's that moment, that automatic moment where there is a pause to allow reorganization. Because patterns, that's exactly what it is. It's automation. It's automation to, again, create order. Automation to conserve energy. And that in itself is beautiful. But like a technological glitch that exposes like whatever is happening, the app isn't working or this browser isn't working, the glitch also gives you the opportunity to expose your patterns. So the glitch is the pattern interrupt. When we talk about now the three components to becoming the pattern interrupt, it consists of three things. The first is awareness. You actually have to see the pattern. No judgment, but you gotta be able to obviously have that awareness. This is what's going on with me. It's not why do I, like, don't be judging yourself here. Just have the awareness to understand, to see that you keep communicating in the same way. You keep resolving an issue in the same way. You keep operating in your relationships the same way. You keep closing the same way. Whatever it is, you can see the pattern now. The next is contrast. So now the system is experiencing a different signal that the football player gets injury. There's contrast now. Before and after. No, before and current. There's a current difference in the external signals that are happening. But to become the pattern interrupt, understanding what that signal is, sometimes that signal internally speaking, so there's external signals and there's internal signals. When we're talking about internal signals, this can come about. There's one which is hi. I choose to be different. I choose to operate differently because I can feel in my body that something is required different. I can feel based on my team's performance that something needs to change within me to be able to lead better. I can see the contrast now. And with that, to become the pattern interrupt is integration. And integration is the juice here of what we do at Elyseon, because otherwise information is just information. Experiences become experiences. But information and experiences, like completely changing up your patterning or evolving a pattern works for you, or whatever the change or the transformation is, requires integration. The new signal embodied. And sorry, back to what I was going about the contrast. You choose it. The second one is it calls you. And I just want to touch this very briefly because, I mean, this might be more of like a spiritual aspect, but in life, whether you want to admit it or not, we're called to certain things, certain people, certain situations, certain environments, certain aspects of ourselves, to look at certain aspects of ourselves and others. And that calling is also the signal. So the desire can come about from choice, from calling, but regardless of where it comes from, either one of those two, it always starts with the awareness and then seeing what the difference is and then integrating this new embodied signal. Change the signal, you change the pattern, and then you change the outcome. This is how it works. To become the pattern interrupt, you literally got to stop yourself in your tracks to change it. But it's not a grand thing. It's not a grand gesture to do that. Because, like, if you want to do something really big, for example, like, okay, this needs immediate change now, you could do it. It's not to say that you absolutely can, but that doesn't mean it becomes integrated. It doesn't mean that your nervous system is safe with. Some people think, like a lot of people think that, like, you just gotta pray. It's just one big jump, but it's not about that. The most sustainable aspects of integration happen through micro integration. It's the little things that make up the big thing. Through consistency, of course, but like overall, when you are thinking that you want to become the glitch and glitch the system, it's not a grand scheme. It's the choice. The choice itself is the grand thing. The choice and the decision itself, that's the jump. That's the start. And then up until awareness to integration, that's the journey. And that's how things stick. So now what? So you interrupt it with precision. Okay, so how do we actually identify a pattern? Like this is probably something that is easy, especially if you are attuned very well to yourself. Most people are, but also sometimes it could be quite difficult. And to recognize a pattern, like what we do through analysis, through the engineer/blueprinting phase of the A method at Aleseon, is we look at the human system fully. So we're looking at energy, we're looking at patterning, we're looking at nervous system, we're not diagnosing, but observing through a multitude of different aspects of the self to attain data, but physically, energetically, emotionally. But right now, easy way I want to share with you to identify your current patterns, and this is specifically to identify what pattern ceilings that you've hit. Okay, because like some patterns serve us well and we want to continue utilizing them in our lives, but at some point we are asked more of mentally, internally, spiritually, physically also. So I want you to ask yourself 3 questions, and I want you to be raw and real and completely and brutally honest with yourself as you're answering this. Think about all aspects of your life, or if you have a specific goal, you can think of that. The first one is, what outcome keeps repeating in my life or performance despite effort? What outcome keeps repeating in my life or performance despite the effort? you put in the grind, you put in the effort, you put in the work, you put in the mindfulness. You're doing what you can, what you know how to do. You're doing what feels safe. But that's not the question. The question is about the outcome. Are you currently in some area of your life keep receiving the same outcome? You want more, you want different, but you keep receiving the same outcome. So where is that happening in your life or performance, despite the effort you? Question 2, what internal state do I rely on to create results? What internal state do I rely on to create results? So what state are you in when you are achieving results? Is it force? Is it urgency? Is it hyper control? Is it withdrawal, avoidance, intensity, pleasing? What does that look like for you? Because that is going to tell you about state shifting and like when creating and integrating new patterns that serve you, what does the state shift need to look like? What got you here won't get you there. Respectfully. And what does this pattern protect me from feeling or facing? What does this pattern protect me from feeling or facing? At the times there's resistance to change because we have to face something. And a lot of the times it's facing how we feel. But it's also to face a certain thing, a consequence most of